Well, while the madness of March takes hold in college basketball, it was pretty mad in the free agent NFL sphere quite as well. Richard Skinner here now to break it all down. Skinny, it felt like more than a week. With everything that happened. I was looking back at the transaction. I'm like, oh, yeah, this was all 5-6 days ago. It's been flying fast left and right. We'll start with who's here, and who's here is a giant signing, literally and figuratively, Orlando Brown, the new left tackle of the Bengals.
Yeah, and we'll get to the guys that left earlier in the week, and it had a lot of people wringing their hands and wondering, what are they going to do? Why aren't they doing anything? And I wrote a column that actually went up on Friday of, listen, I could argue the point 5 years ago of why are they not doing anything? This front office and coaching staff and group now, over the last 3 or 4 years in the offseason, had deserved the benefit of the doubt. They obviously had a plan. They knew where they were going to go with their money. And I think they feel very fortunate that Orlando Brown very quickly went, it's pretty good money. It's 31 guaranteed. It works really good against the salary cap this year. It's only 10 for this year in the salary cap. It's very backloaded, but it's still 31 guaranteed. It was a great signing, and honestly, for me, I was hoping for the Jermaine Elemonors of the world. He signed with somebody today of just get a right tackle. You got a franchise left tackle for 4 years, man.
I'm a little surprised looking at what he turned down from the Chiefs last year that would have paid him more out of a longer contract, and yet here he is deciding, is this a Joe Burrow factor, or what do you put into him coming here?
I think there's two things, and he kind of downplayed one of these things, and I don't think it was downplayed. There was a belief that the Chiefs didn't view him as a franchise-level left tackle. They thought of him as a right tackle. Now, he played left tackle for the last 2 years there. He played right tackle for a bit in Baltimore, then was moved to left tackle. It's what he wants to play and knows those guys get paid. He kept bringing it up. It was basically three factors. My belief that I'm a franchise left tackle, Joe Burrow, and a chance to win a Super Bowl. So I think there were three factors, but I think the big one was their belief in him to be a franchise-level left tackle.
The offensive line got a big signing. The defense, we saw the departure of Von Bell and Jesse Bates. One of those was expected, one of those was not. But they were able to get Jermaine Pratt back on a 3-year, $21 million contract. $10 million in year one. It was a very smart contract from what the pundits online were saying. How big is it the fact that Jermaine Pratt is back for the middle of that defense?
Yeah, so I'm going to tie this into Von Bell, right? I mean, Von Bell, the money's similar if you look at just the raw money of it, right? But basically 21 mil, 20-ish mil. I mean, we can give or take a mil. Can we give or take a mil? I'm not sure. I can't.
I mean, I can't. I don't know. Maybe you can.
No, I sure can't either. But give or take a mil. It was in the ballpark, right? But a big sticking point was Von getting $6 million guaranteed in year two. They weren't going to do that. They don't do that kind of stuff. They'll put some guaranteed up front in the bonus, try to prorate it over the life of the contract, which they did with Jermaine. And I think the big part of this is when it was clear apparently they were not going to get Von back. I think it was clear to them of, all right, we need a guy who's a great communicator. Is just a guy, he's a Von Bell type on defense cerebrally. And so we asked Lou Anarumo about his communication now to the guys on the back end. And he said, hey, I had two guys that were, he's talked about this before, 500-level guys. They could communicate downhill. He goes, now it's Jermaine's going to be communicating back to them not communicating to him. And I think that was important to get at least somebody of that ilk. And that's not a knock on the Logan Wilsons or Mike Hiltons or any of those other guys, but there's only certain spots that communicate. I think it was important they got a guy like that back if they were going to lose Von Bell. I think they're disappointed they lost Von Bell, but he was not going to get $6 million guaranteed in the second year of that contract.
My question is, because you were in move-out day as I was in the locker room, and from what the interview sounded like with Jermaine Pratt, it sounded like, he said, I'll come back for the right deal, but it was almost like he was saying goodbye. I know Jesse Bates was saying goodbye because he knew what was coming.
He knew,
and by Jesse Bates.
Yes.
Jermaine sounded a lot like that. Are you surprised that he's back?
Yes and no. And I literally point blank asked him because a lot of the conversation was about the Joseph Osai thing from the day before where he, yelled at Joseph. And he actually, the comment really stuck to everybody, which wasn't just him blasting Joseph initially. It was, this is my last game, meaning my last game here. He wants to win a Super Bowl. He talked about that in the press conference earlier this week. He's talked about that before. But I said, do you want to come back? And he said yes, and kind of your point, if the deal is right, yes, I want to be back. He'd apologized to Joseph after the outburst. But I think it was really heartfelt. He thought, I don't know if I'm ever going to get closer to a Super Bowl than this, and now I'm going to have to think about doing something else. No, I think for him it worked out perfectly. I think it worked out perfectly for both sides. Better than I would have thought it would have.
But you lose Jesse Bates, Von Bell, Hayden Hurst, Samaje Perine, I know a lot of people were upset about. It's a backup running back. He was a nice compliment, but at the end of the day, he's a backup running back. what do you make of the guys that they lost?
Well, I think you made the point earlier. You knew you were losing Jesse Bates. You knew that. You probably knew Hayden Hurst, unless it was some team-friendly deal. He got $13 million guaranteed. I'm sorry for Hayden Hurst. They're not paying $13 million guaranteed for that position. I think they're in that group of, let's find 1 year, $5 million guy, maybe 2 years, $7.5 million guy. Samaje surprised me a little because I thought the price tag that Denver paid is about what I think I've projected the Bengals would pay for him. 2 years, $7.5 million, but I get that one too. And obviously Vaughn, as we just talked about, he's the one that was a little bit of a surprise, but when you look at the money, listen, when you look at it, you lost an ancillary piece in Samaje Perine. Nice piece, but ancillary. Hayden Hurst, he had 400 yards receiving last year. Fun guy to watch, great on third downs, all those things. But can you not make up 400 yards at the tight end position? I think you can do that for sure. And listen, right or wrong, when you have to pay a bunch of people at the last guys, they're safeties for a reason. They're on the back end for a reason. It's no knock on neither of those guys. Good for them. Jesse Bates bet on himself and he got paid. Von Bell bet on himself and got paid. But you had a guy that you think can replace in Dax Hill, and they didn't forget the position because Nick Scott, it'll become official tomorrow, but over the weekend, the story is he's signing. We're actually going to meet him tomorrow and talk to him tomorrow. They went and got a veteran that they really like, and he's not even, he's a young guy. So I think that they're going to be just fine. And like I said, they have a plan, and this is the third straight offseason they've attacked a really good plan.
Now, the question that I have now that Samaje Perine is gone, because I agree, I thought that was a guy that you bring back.
I did.
Because of everything that he does well, and especially if they go the direction we think they're going to go with Joe Mixon, which is cutting him to save a lot of money. Where does this leave the running back room now? You do bring back Travion Williams, who they like as a culture guy, a special teams guy. You know, he floats between practice squad and active roster. But where do they go with running back now?
It's a great question. I've been of the ilk, and I'll stand by my statement that I do think they eventually move on from Joe Mixon. Does that mean Clyde Edwards-Helaire? I know they were involved with Jamal Williams, and he took a deal with the Saints, and that seemed like a pretty good fit here. If the price was right, the price wasn't right. I hate to say it, it's going to be a cheaper version in my opinion. And then probably at very best, I know everybody's looking at the Bijan route, it's not going to be first round running. Third or fourth round running back, there's so many good backs in this draft. So you combine Travion Williams, Chris Evans, veteran guy, again, I'm just throwing Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but somebody of that ilk out there, and rookie draft pick. You only ran the ball 20 times per game last year if you take Joe Burrow out. And you may even run it less if Joe Burrow has even another weapon at tight end in what they've got from Orlando Brown pass blocking, Chris. So to me, it's a position that you just don't need to overspend on. You're going to be just fine. I think the last handful of Super Bowl champions, if you look at what they're paying for running backs or paid for running backs, that's a spot you just don't pay anymore. And I feel bad for running backs. I feel bad for really good running backs. Zeke Elliott got whacked. He's still a really good running back. But you're just not going to pay that kind of money anymore.
Another position that Bengals social media and everybody wants to see somebody sign a big tight end, Skinny. They want a big tight end.
Yeah.
I'm in your school of thought. Hayden Hurst is a big-time tight end. He only had 400 yards. This isn't an offense, and I know if you had a Travis Kelce you would mold things so that you get in the ball more.
But you wouldn't be able to pay everybody. But
right.
Yes,
you don't need that kind of guy to make this offense go. That being said, they do need somebody at the position, but I could see them going out and maybe getting a blocking tight end that's not going to wow everybody.
No, it's a Foster Moreau. I mean, he had some drop issues, but he's been a pretty solid second tight end behind Darren Waller. Hayden Hurst was kind of in the same mold of former first-round pick, high-level guy. You think he's going to be good. He came in, it was great, and he still caught 400 yards worth of passes. Guess where all these targets are going in this offense? They're going to go to number 1, they're going to go to number 85, who will be number 5 next year, and they're going to go to number 83. And anything else is gravy, in my opinion. So you're not getting a high-level tight end. And you're going to draft a kid, too, on top of it, and that guy's going to catch 47 balls for 445 yards. 25 of those are for first downs, 4 of them for touchdowns. You're going to go, thank God, I still got Jamar Chase catching 1,600 yards worth of footballs.
And finally, for this week, and wrapping up the busy week then in the NFL free agency, Jonah Williams requesting a trade per Ian Rappaport after the Orlando Browns signing. I know he's been maligned with a lot of people because he's been good, but maybe not good enough in some eyes. There's a thought maybe he could go to right tackle. He says he doesn't want to go to right tackle. I don't blame him for wanting to go to right tackle because they don't get paid like the left tackles. What do they do with Jonah Williams?
I think that's the point of, I think he saw that writing on the wall. But, listen, Orlando Brown, you signed him not just for this year. Jonah's contract goes through 2023, and he was not coming back, I don't think, unless he was the Anthony Munoz reincarnate, and that was not going to happen. So the natural move is right tackle. And maybe some of this was also forcing the hand of maybe they were hoping he'd force this trade possibility. And you can not only trade him to appease him, but get $12.6 million off the books because that's what he's making guaranteed money this year, and then you'll piecemeal right tackle. And in a worst-case scenario, He stays. He's going to play. He's going to play hard. He's a pro. And guess what? If he doesn't play, he knows he's not going to get paid. So I think you're in a really good spot. You almost want to go, Jonah, thanks for requesting the trade, because if we can make it work for you, we're going to make it work for us. And if not, you'll be our right tackle, and there can be worse right tackles to play in this league.
Never a dull moment in the NFL season. The offseason will continue. Maybe we will have as busy next week as we did this week. Or
yeah, give me one more week like that, and then I'm on to the Masters at some point.
He's Richard Skinner, Local12.com Bengals beat writer.